Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 3 Fox Hunt. The power that exploded out from Naruto was intense to say the least as yellow chakra shot out of his body, twisting like a corkscrew into the air for all to see. Along with this immense tower of yellow chakra came the appearance of a skull's head laughing in a psychotic manner that would put Shukaku to shame. However, this moment in time that this strange new power revealed itself, only lasted for a couple minutes, with the extent of this mysterious phenomenon soon dying as quickly as it appeared. The difference was that instead of leaving with a bang, it left in a whimper of not silence. When Zangetsu removed his hand from his eyes to see the aftermath with a shocked look on his face after seeing power coming out of Naruto. The boy's new power had changed how he was dressed as well, since he was no longer dressed as Zangetsu was. Zangetsu's vessel was now dressed in a large red and black coat with his hair all spiky in the back with bells of all things on the tallest tips of his hair. The sword in his hands had a jagged edge on one side with a flat edge on the other, making anyone who saw it think twice in a fight with such a blade. Zangetsu also noticed that Naruto, despite being unconscious, even had an iron grip on it as if it were all that kept him alive, literally. It seems Naruto has taken yet another step towards greatness, but as remarkable as this moment was, he cannot stay here for long. That power was felt as far as away as Konoha, if not deep into the heart of Iwa, and if they knew who this boy was the descendant of, they would jump at the chance to kill him, thought Zangetsu as he picked up the now noticeably heavier Naruto onto his shoulders, noticing a sheath for his sword laying not far from him. Picking that up as well, Zangetsu teleported away from the area to Tazuna's house, to the room the family had given his vessel. Suna at the moment Subaku no Gaara was doing what every cage, whether here or in Iwa, do, that they hate with a passion, but cannot kill: evil piles of paper. What the boy needed was a distraction of some kind that would allow him, if only for a moment, leave this pile of papers. Kankuro caught peeping again, Tamari having PMS, or even would-be ninja assassins sent to kill him to make a name for themselves. Anything. Never let it be said that Kami never once granted Gaara any of the wishes he ever wished in life. "Did you feel that, my vessel?" said the words of Shukaku, who normally through force of will and the incomplete seal that was powered by it kept the psycho demon at bay. "How are you getting your thoughts out of my skull? Get out," thought Gaara, dropping his writing utensil and sat still like a statue, focusing more of his will into the seal. "No, stop, you stupid mortal. I'm not talking to you into killing everyone, for now. I was wondering if you felt that surge of incredible power just now," said Shukaku, who was fortunate that Gaara stopped forcing him out so they could speak more. "I felt it, but it's not related to you in any way, so why should it concern me?" thought a slightly curious Gaara before getting up from his desk and walked over to the window to ponder his inner demon's words. "That and to get out of doing paperwork. It's not related to me in that you are correct, but someone close to you. The one person in all the elemental named lands that has the strength to give us our first defeat just not too long ago. You know of the mortal I speak of," said Shukaku, making Gaara's eyes widen at the realization. Naruto created that power, but it wasn't the Kyuubi's chakra at all, or his own chakra for that matter. Did Naruto find another form of strength to call his own? Thought Gaara, as he raised his head slightly, looking to the rim of his vision that could see the sand that was in his line of sight. "It is possible, my forever insomnia-scarred host. Kami seems to favor this boy, and we both know what happens when you go against those with Kami on their side," said Shukaku, knowing the last time he protested against Kami he got his ass handed to him by the all-knowing entity. "I do not side with Naruto simply because of that reason, Shukaku. I side with Uzumaki Naruto because of what he believes in and what he will do to those who would try to take such things away from him. What he did to us in that forest area is proof of that," thought Gaara, who winced at remembering that very painful headbutt he received dead center in his forehead by the blonde juggernaut. "What better way to have your head put on straight than have someone bash it straight for you? Good. At least I have a vessel of principles. Don't get me wrong, boy, I will always be a psychotic demon at heart, but as one of the demon lords I have to, as much as it pains me, to have ethics. Otherwise I'm no better than your filthy species," said Shukaku with great deal of pride in his voice, making Gaara let out a small sweat drop concerning the sand raccoon's personality. "Nice to know, I guess. Now stop talking to me and don't even think of trying to possess my body," thought Gaara, forcing the mental voice of his demon away from the realm of mental speaking. You're no fun. When I get out I'm gonna, yelled Shukaku, only to be silenced before he could be finished by Gaara's willpower. Temari came in soon after, looking at her brother as he had his form at the window, as if he had sensed what she did. Did you sense it? Did it come from Naruto-kun? Said a curious and hopeful Temari. It's a distinct possibility, Temari. Shukaku spoke to me in my head only mere moments ago about it, and for once he sounded sane, though it could have been a passing moment. And did I hear you call him Naruto-kun, Temari? Said Gaara, looking at the blushing girl, who looked like she had her hand caught in the cookie jar. Well, he is strong, Gaara, and he is kind hearted to T those he considers his precious people, said Temari, hoping Gaara would approve of her potential boyfriend if she pursued it. Such qualities are good for someone like Naruto. He would not mistreat you or hurt you in any way. Should Naruto come by soon at any point you can ask him out on a date, said Gaara, getting joyous squeal from Temari, who after reanalyzing what she did blushed with embarrassment before skipping her way out of his office. With that said and done, Gaara went back to his desk to continue facing what he had been doing several hours ago in the morning, a mountain's worth of paperwork. Maybe I should have let Shukaku out, or at least continued talking to him, thought Gaara before shaking his head and set out to do the task at hand. Sound Village. What the hell was that? Said Orochimaru, sensing a powerful spike of chakra come out of nowhere. It came from the land of waves, Orochimaru-sama, said Kabuto, looking at a map that showed all the elemental nations and pointed to Wave Country. Wave Country, you say? Didn't the Kyuubi brat have a mission in that poor flea-infested place? Said Orochimaru, having heard something about how Kakashi and his squad met the Demon of the Mist on the way to Wave Country. Yes, apparently because of Squad 7, or according to the people of Wave, Naruto helped make the people believe again and helped take down that sleazy businessman Gato and his hired thugs, said Kabuto, having read the file himself, which gave him some of the original data for the Chunin exams. And now, shortly after the brat escapes the murderous grips of Konoha, there is a spike of immense chakra in Wave. Perhaps the Kyuubi vessel is not as hopeless as I had originally thought he was, said Orochimaru, smiling as ideas began popping into his head. Orochimaru-sama, said Kabuto, looking at his master curiously. If we can capture the boy, maybe we can understand the demon fox's chakra, and maybe if I can have enough time to experiment, I might learn the secret of immortality from the fox via the boy himself. Kabuto, gather a squad of our most lethal Anbu and send them to Wave Country to find the child. I want him brought back alive. The subject is no good to me if he's somehow damaged in a way that could affect the overall outcome of my experiments, said Orochimaru before glaring at the boy as if to question his judgment. I will, and to make sure the operation is completed with perfect precision, I will lead the Anbu team myself, Orochimaru-sama, said Kabuto before bowing to his master before he turned around and left. Don't fail me again, Kabuto. The last time you did, I nearly killed you, said Orochimaru to the darkness, though no one was even in the room. Konoha. During this time, the once busy streets of Konoha that once held great wealth was now starting to show its age without the youth-giving life of trade and a super-fat budget the size of an expansive Akimichi. And just within a week. Why, during this time of the month, traders from all places came to buy or sell things that were part of their region. The fact that almost every single place around Konoha had cut them off during one of the busiest trading months had hurt more than the people of Leaf had originally anticipated. With the drastically reduced budget and missions going to other villages, money was going to be tight even for the Hyuga clan, who had decided to be more watchful of their finances as to not go into sudden poverty. The majority of the place was filled with the seemingly depressed, who all wondered why the Uchiha was still unconscious in the hospital. The doctors had been optimistic, saying the boy would come out of it anytime soon, so it just required a little more time. If only it were that easy, but that's beside the point, as there were other problems. Mainly within the ninja ranks. As it stood, most of the Rookie 9 and Guy's team now knew why Naruto was hated so much by others due to the majority of the council revoking the 3rd S-class law on the matter. When Rock Lee learned, he was devastated that one such as Naruto was not only shunned by the people he protected, but betrayed by his own sensei. It made no sense to the mini-guy look-alike that someone that was supposed to be seen as a hero should be hated by them. It was unyouthfulness at its darkest, as his sensei and idol Maeda guy had told him when the boy had awakened from his exhaustion. Choji was in total shock, and when his family visited him in the hospital asked why he was never told about Naruto having the demon inside of him. When asked by his father if he would have hated or shunned Naruto because of the Kyuubi, Choji couldn't give a solid answer, thus proving the older man's point on why the third made the law when he did. Still, such knowledge now in his possession, Choji knew that being hated at such a level just for something that was not your fault, but were somehow connected to was not right. Shikamaru had been on the same page as Choji when it came to his father, though when he was told had responded that he already knew. Shino, who felt despite the reason for law no matter how logical at the time it was, felt this information was crucial to the overall aspects of their developing life. The bug user that was the heir to his clan felt that Naruto was similar to him since no one would get near him out of fear of his bugs, thus resulting in isolation most of his life outside of his home. Naruto never had a family to confide in when he was alone, and it ate Shino up inside that the boy he once thought was loser had carried a burden that should never had been placed on Naruto in the first place. As it stood, Shino personally had nothing against Naruto despite the Kyuubi inside of his stomach, and had even spotted the boy once working on a garden in secret. What amazed Shino was not that the boy had apparently kept such a secret from everyone, but that with care simply removed the different types of bugs off his plants and did not squish them afterwards. That in itself to Shino was a sign of a person who was not a demon, but who respected nature and the bugs that made up the world at large, instead of just simply crushing them beneath his feet or spraying the plants with that horrible gas known only as the tabooed word to all Aburame to speak of, insecticide. Tenten had always known deep down that Naruto was different, even though she barely knew the kid since the academy days when she was a year ahead of him. She would see him try so hard in molding chakra that she could actually see the large amount he put into it, which in several cases caused a mini explosion of sorts with a failed jutsu attempt. She had explained what had happened to her father, who just let out a small chuckle saying that the boy has a lot of chakra in body that because of his size is hard to control, and that while he won't be able to do a jutsu that requires a small amount of chakra, the boy could possibly do a jutsu that would drain even some junin and still have enough energy to run a person ragged after performing a prank. But that wasn't the part of Tenten that knew he was different, as it was something else during the time at one point on Naruto birthdays on October 10th, as their shop would get a lot of customers around then. It was that day and time that she realized such a feeling about the blonde-haired boy. She soon remembered when she was 8 that her father let her mind the store for a brief moment while he checked the back for some kunai he had been working on. Some time later a group of shinobi came in and asked her, since they knew her father, if she knew of some weapons. Since everyone in the way of the shinobi in Konoha knew about her father, she thought it wasn't too strange to ask if she knew about such things. However, what struck Tenten as strange was that they wanted weapons that were slightly rusted and would need to be thrown away soon after, if not immediately upon using them for other activities, with the word other being expressed a little too friendly for her taste. When she asked them to be clearer on the other that was mentioned, they said they were going to go demon hunting, which at the time Tenten thought was a new festival game they added on to make people happy that the Kyuubi was dead. With that, Tenten had given them some swords that were going to be taken into the back and melted down to be remade into new swords. The men paid for each weapon and told her it was just for her since she had been so kind to give them the weapons. It was later on when Tenten told her father about it and the serious look on his face before he went to talk to the third Hokage that she knew something was wrong and it was somehow partly her fault. Fortunately, whatever she had unintentionally caused had not been fully set in motion, as her father came back later at night with a calm yet still serious look on his face before he asked her certain questions that puzzled her slightly, but asked as honestly as she could. In the end her father gave her a smile, a kiss on the head, and told her to go to bed, as if all was right with the world, though Tenten still couldn't help but feel something was off about her father's reaction. Now that she knew the truth, she understood why her father had been so serious. Those shinobi she sold the rusty weapons to were going to use them on Naruto that night. I can't even look at a sword of that design clean or rusted without feeling ashamed of myself for giving those guys weapons. At least from the look on my father's face when he came in, that he and the Sandaime stopped it, if not the worst of Naruto's torture from happening, thought Tenten, finding herself by Neji's bedside, as he slept to regain his lost strength. She would have visited Lee, but knowing him, he would have been loud enough to wake a coma patient as soon as she entered the room. Unfortunately, just as the news of Naruto's demon being told had positive effects in the more open-minded circles, it had negative effects elsewhere. Ino was glad that Naruto was gone despite her father's disappointment in her being so arrogant, which he blamed on his wife, who supported her daughter in the matter. Inoichi shook his head at the two, saying this was why he wanted a guy as the male Yamanaka were not so arrogant as to not see the difference between a hero, a demon, and a damn traitor of an Uchiha. Sakura was of course no different from her mother in hating Naruto, as she was so caught up with wanting to be married to Sasuke to help revive his clan that she simply continued doing what she had been doing all along. All the while the girl smirked over the fact that she got in all those hits on Naruto, the demon spawn of Konoha, making her mother exceedingly proud. Inuzuka Kiba found himself following in the footsteps of his mother, as well as her hatred for the boy like Kiba passed on to him when soon revealed that it was Kyuubi, who was the one that killed Kiba's father, that was her husband. Kiba, of course being as arrogant as his mother, found a new reason to hate Naruto, as the boy had his Hinata's attention all the time and had beaten him embarrassingly at the preliminaries, which in his mind shamed his clan. "The next time I see you again, demon, I'm going to rip out your heart and place it in a jar as a trophy for all to see, so they know I, Inuzuka Kiba, am the best. And after I'm done ending your miserable life, I'll make Hinata-chan mine, and she will only bear my pups while you rot in hell," thought Kiba, flexing his claw-like hands while he sat alone in his hospital bed, grinning with anticipation of a rematch. Only this time, it would be to the death. It was the same everywhere in the Hidden Leaf Village, with a slight few disgusted by the majority's actions while the majority continued to hate the boy. Of course the thoughts on those people within Konoha, who hated the boy, soon felt a tremendous power that snapped them out of their thoughts of driving the demon out of the village. It was then that such joyous thoughts of the demon no longer in the village vanished in fear of what monster that came from off into the horizon. How truly ironic it was. Hokage Tower, Danzo's office. It's clear from this spike of incredible power the demon vessel is growing stronger at a considerable rate, said Danzo, sensing the general area the power was coming from and pinpointed the location before cross-referencing the area with Naruto. "Yes, Danzo-sama, if you wish I will lead a team of Anbu route to Wave Country to kill the monster now that we know his position," said Sai, bowing his head to his teacher. "No. If we do that, it will incite further conflict with the other shinobi nations and rally our older, more spiteful enemies into a mad war frenzy as well. Konoha is the strongest of all the shinobi nation despite its current conditions, but even our might is no match for so many foes at once. We need to get the abomination killed on our side of the territorial field to avoid a political incident that would cause reason for the demon's many friends to fight for him as if he were a martyr. We will send out our hunter ninjas as our fellow council members had originally ordered. The only difference is we will send more of them to Wave Country, but nothing else unless he is within Konoha's domain. However, as a precaution, let our spy network outside of Konoha keep their eyes out for him so we can monitor his movements. By doing this we can anticipate his next move before the demon can execute him," said Danzo, looking at the latest news from his spies elsewhere. "What about the fifth Hokage, Danzo-sama? If she learns of this, she will declare marital law and destroy parts of the council that will oppose her," said Sai, knowing that to mess with that woman was not the smartest thing to do. "Should that woman do something like, she will be taken out before she can even give the order for it once started. When that happens, I will make myself the new Hokage, have Sasuke as my copyright, and make Konoha the military power I have envisioned it would be, with Sasuke to carry on my work when I am long dead," said Danzo, smiling, though it hurt considering the old battle scars on the upper part of his face that were wrapped in bandages. "Yes, Danzo-sama," said Sai before leaving to train until he was yet again called for by his master and leader of Root. At the same time another Anbu Root member came in from the shadows and kneeled before the man. "Have certain aspects of Uzumaki Naruto been leaked to Iwa?" said Danzo, looking at his Root member with his one good eye. "Yes, Danzo-sama. As you anticipated, the Iwa are getting worked up into a frenzy and are sending their very best hunter ninja and Anbu after the demon. Now that they know who his parents were, the ninja from Iwa are looking for some revenge against the one who helped end the war," said the Root Anbu, who got a nod from Danzo with a small smirk on his face as a sign he was pleased with his soldier before dismissing him. Wave Country. 3 days later. Naruto woke up with a headache the size of Gamabunta, as he slowly got up from his bed with his stomach screaming at him to eat something soon or there would be hell to pay. "Man, I feel like Zangetsu-sama beat the crap out of me," said Naruto, cracking his neck until he heard the pressure releasing, pop, and crack sounds in the joints. "You should be so fortunate that it feels like it and that it didn't actually happen. If it had, you wouldn't simply have mild discomfort and a sizable headache," said Zangetsu, as he appeared seemingly out of nowhere yet again to face the boy, who now sat up on the side of the bed. "How long was I out?" said Naruto, noticing his newly acquired sword in a black sheath with a blood-red fox head on the side. 3 whole days. Your stomach had been growling mad at not being fed anything except water to prevent dehydration. I had to use my chakra on your body to compensate its loss of food and nutrients in the body and to slow down your digestive system to prevent you from pissing yourself as you were unconscious," said Zangetsu, slightly annoyed at his vessel's stomach for growling so loud for food. And Akamichi's stomach had more tolerance than Naruto's did when it came to hunger. "Do Inari, Tazuna, and Tsunami know I'm up here?" said Naruto, getting off the bed before walking over to the mirror to inspect his new look. "Of course. When I carried you back they asked who I was and what I was doing carrying you on my shoulder. It took a bit of explaining on my end, but they understood what had happened and why you were unconscious. They all felt or saw the power you unleashed from awakening the power of your sword when you spoke his name, so you can imagine how worried they were about you. However, it's such an eruption of power will no doubt turn several eyes of the shinobi world towards Wave Country. They will send ninja their teams here to investigate the disturbance with some hoping it will lead to finding you," said Zangetsu, knowing that Naruto would know what groups he was speaking of. "No doubt they are on their way, or are nearly here depending on who's looking. We will have to greet them appropriately." "Right, Zangetsu-sama," said Naruto, smiling a new smile with fox-like fangs and sharp teeth that made Kisami's look flat in comparison. "Right. Go to the bathroom, take a shower and head downstairs to eat. We have to see if your mask is ready at the blacksmith's or not," said Zangetsu, seeing Naruto run a hand over his now longer unwashed hair. "Oh, it's ready all right. I can feel it," said Naruto, heading into the bathroom to get clean while Zangetsu walked downstairs to inform the trio below that Naruto was awake. For Zangetsu, it felt good, if not for once, not to hide from others around him, and was a wholehearted if not wonderful thing to experience. The sound of waves from the ocean can make even the most violent of beasts become calm given the time and right moment, thought Zangetsu offhand before he wondered if he was getting soft after several thousand years of being alive. "The grave of Zabuza and Haku. Must we come here just so you can pay your respects, Kisame?" said Itachi in annoyance at the traditions that were part of the village hidden in mist that still lingered in his shark-faced partner. The 2 members of the Akatsuki had arrived in Wave Country only moments ago, and Kisame had insisted that they go to Zabuza's grave to pay their, or rather Kisame pay his respects to the fallen member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. When the 2 arrived at the grave using Itachi's Sharingan to follow the faint mixture of a chakra trail that was left behind by who they suspected belonged to their prey, Uzumaki Naruto. When the 2 had reached the graves, Kisame could instantly tell that Zabuza's grave had been tampered with just a few days ago. Upon further inspection, Kisame immediately noticed that only the blade from Zabuza's sword was left, not the hilt of it. At first, the shark-faced member of Akatsuki remembered the story of how sword hilts sometimes had more than on master. Remembering this, Kisame decided to pay his respects to Zabuza first, before setting out to find the Kyuubi vessel and then kill whoever took the hilt off the demon of the mist's blade. Kisame only hoped the 2 were related. When the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist was founded and we all trained together to be the best in mist, we each made an oath stained in our blood to visit the grave of the one who most resembled us the most. Zabuza was my counterpart before you were, Itachi, as he was a lot like me before he died. He loved combat and the smell from the blood that would stain his sword when he sliced someone apart in a silenced manner. Even his teeth were like mine, and he knew how to use kunai in a way that no other could think of should one's own arms be useless in a fight, said Kisame, having heard the story of how Gato had been killed by Zabuza, as had Itachi. "Barbaric, but effective nonetheless, I suppose," said Itachi, earning him a growl from his blue-skinned companion. "A fight is a fight, not some honorable duel you have in a dojo, so don't tell me that being savage in a fight to the death is barbaric, or the manner in which it was done. You of all people should know that since you wiped out your entire clan. Well, Almost all of them, said Kisame smiling, turning to his partner, who stayed as calm as ever. That foolish brother of mine is not an Uchiha. The fact that the power given to him by Orochimaru was not enough to defeat Uzumaki Naruto when summoning the Kyuubi's chakra proves just how weak Sasuke truly is. My so-called brother may have the eyes of the Uchiha, but not the heart of one, said Itachi, walking away from the graves while Kisame looked at the man puzzlingly before running to catch up. Chizuna's home 20 minutes later. Naruto walked down the stairs of the home of the people he was proud to call family as he did his precious ones, who were surprised to see his new appearance. "God damn kid, when you get a growth spurt you certainly grow," said Chizuna looking at the kid, who was now nearly up to the old drunk's shoulders. And that was if you didn't count his hair. Naruto's hair was now blonde with red streaks around the some of the base of some of it, only now his hair overall was spikier than usual. Another weird thing was that Naruto's hair has bells of all things sticking out of the tallest of spikes of his hair, making a little noise as turned his head even if T was a small movement. Naruto's recent transformation is because of the powerful spirit that lives within his very sword he now wields. Though the two of them will be independent from the other, Naruto will learn more as time goes on from that spirit and from me during our travels through the various elemental lands, said Zangetsu, knowing his words at the end would depress the family that took them in, but he knew it couldn't be helped. So did Tazuna, Inari, and Tsunami. Stay for a little while longer. Please Naruto ni-san, said Inari, hoping the boy he looked up to as a brother would not leave so soon after such a seemingly short visit. I will be around for a little while longer today, Inari, don't worry. I have to go and pick up something from one of the shops, but once I do I'll come back to say goodbye. For now anyway, said Naruto, cracking a small smile at Inari before ruffling the smaller boy's hair. Promise, said Inari, knowing that Naruto would follow through with a promise no matter what. Promise, said Naruto before walking out of the house and waving back to the family. Blacksmith's shop 15 minutes later. So how do you like it? I made sure it was done with the finest care and precision you could ask of any craftsman of my art, said the shop owner, watching the boy gaze at the mask with a piercing gaze as if to look for a fault that was not there. The craftsmanship is indeed impressive, Sano-san. You should be proud of yourself for making a work of pure art for us. How much does that come to? Said Naruto after he had finished looking over every single spot of detail and giving it his approval. No charge. I know who you are, kid. Anyone who's anyone in Wave knows your name and your face just enough to know you are the hero that Plaque mentioned, said Sano, who smiled at the boy's slightly shocked face, thinking his new appearance would keep others from recognizing him. Then again, this type of thing was what the mask was for. I see. You will keep my presence here a secret then, said Naruto, though it was more of a statement than question. When I first arrived here at the beginning entrance to this country where the bridge was connected, I read the plaque word for word and kept it repeating over in my head. When I asked around about you, all I got was wonderful news about what you did to help these people and to help the bridge builder's grandson snap out of his depressing funk, said Sano, again surprising Naruto. How did you know about that? Said Naruto curiously, as not too many people knew about that little discussion, if you want to call it, with him and Inari. One day I visited that old drunk and he told me how you had a pretty miserable life that made this look like paradise to you. Since even though people were down and nearly out, they had each other, even though that was all they had. You on the other hand had no one, from what I've been told, and it is high time you get your due, kid. I also have a feeling that this mask will help you on your journey. Just remember when you are famous, kid, to brush some of it my way and tell people how you got this mask from me, said a slightly laughing Sano, who shook the kids and Zangetsu's hands before they left. Later that day at home, Sano would walk in to find a small pouch of money from the much larger one Naruto had with a note on it from the kid himself. I may need your services for masks in the future, so don't think you're off the hook just yet, Sano-san. Pleasure doing business with you, Naruto. Sano merely let out a small hearty laugh, finding it was the only thing he could do. Wave Country, the Great Naruto Bridge. My little Naruto-kun must have found something worth Orochimaru-sama's interest if I can sense that strange chakra's residue from here, thought Kabuto, as he could sense a great deal of it remained around Wave Country, though it was now noticeably thin, so it made following it more difficult than he expected. Still, just because it was difficult didn't mean the boy wasn't impossible to find. Soon he felt Naruto's chakra signature not far from them and signaled the sound Anbu behind him to run across the bridge to find the rogue Konoha ninja to take back to the Snake Sanin. Not too far away from them, Konoha's own hunter ninjas were also heading into Wave Country, only instead of capture they were sent to kill the said fox boy. The gathering of so many ninja to one spot along with the battle that would shortly follow would be the talk of Wave Country for years to come. With Naruto and Zangetsu, Naruto continued to look at the mask and wonder what his friends back home would think if they saw him now. Knowing Sakura, she didn't care, and at worst she knew about his tenant, meaning she was a demon hater like most of the Leaf Village. Ino would most likely follow since she was infatuated with Sasuke, plus she has a tendency to be shallow in terms of perceptions of others. If Kiba was anything like his mother, then Naruto knew he was screwed out of a friendly rival with the brash Inuzuka, seeing as the apples in that particular family never fell far from the tree. Though the mutt's older sister Hana showed promise in seeing things clearer than the rest of her clan. However, that wasn't his main concern at the moment. What concerned him was how the news of Zangetsu being inside of him would affect Hinata's perceptions of him. He may appear dumb, but he knew when someone liked another more than a friend, and had done so with Sakura on several occasions, even if they were fake. All the same, Naruto knew that Hinata's feelings for him before he left for his mission to retrieve Sasuke were not by any means fake. Would the news of the demon inside of him poison her mind into her thinking he was the actual demon? A monster? Would he forever be alone, never to settle down and have children of his own, who he could tell his story to so they would know how great his struggles in life were? Some things were better left alone. Zangetsu looked at his student vessel, sensing the thoughts and emotions whirling around in his complex head of his. There were things about his past connection with Konoha that needed to be solved, and solved soon, or else he could never break the invisible chains that bound him to the weight of a guilty conscience. Naruto, it's time, said Zangetsu, snapping the boy out of his thoughts to look at him. Yes, Zangetsu-sama, it is time, said Naruto with very little emotion in his voice, as he put the mask on his head, feeling the inner part of it connect with the side of his face. How does it feel? Said Zangetsu, liking Naruto's new look more and more, giving the boy a more demonic appearance. In just one word, perfect, said Naruto, as he added chakra into the mask so he could see through it clearly. Good. As you grow and use my chakra, the mask will expand to match the dynamics of your face to fit as time goes by. Also, I've decided to give you a summoning contract for demon foxes to help us on our journey, since using the toads would alert that peeping toad hermit. Show me your sheath kit, said Zangetsu, getting a nod from Naruto, in understanding, and removed the said item from his waist. It wasn't that he didn't trust Ero Sennin, but he couldn't say he trusted him either. One backstabbing sensei is enough for now, and even if I could trust the old pervert if he were interrogated by the council, any information he finds out could be used against me, thought Naruto before holding out in front of him for Demon Fox. Zangetsu channeled chakra into his hand and placed his fingertips on the sheath where the symbol of the fox head was, making it glow blood red for several seconds. Now you have officially signed a contract with me and my kin, and it will only work for you since this is your sheath, that only works with your sword. Anyone else will have their limbs blown off in trying to use or tamper with it should they learn where it came from, said Zangetsu before turning his attention to the right of him, sensing the approach of several groups of people heading their way. I sense we have company. What better way to help get a reputation than to kill people from the places I hate? Said Naruto, though it was more of a statement than question, as he put his sheath away and now held his now normal-looking sword in his hand, while Zangetsu retreated back to the seal, not wanting their secret of him being active outside of it known to their enemies. In no time Naruto found himself nearly surrounded by sound Anbu with Konoha's hunter ninjas waiting in the shadows, not realizing that Itachi and Kisame were doing the same. Naruto did though. It's been a while, Naruto. You never call, you never write, and you never come to visit me in Sound Village, said Kabuto, looking confidently at his prey. Why should I visit you or the snake queer you call a master? Unlike you, I don't have the unhealthy fetishes for long snake-like tongues wrapping around me a night, said Naruto behind his mask, clearly seeing some surprised movements and what seemed to be silent snickering at Kabuto's expense. Such inferior insults will not goad me into fighting you on your terms, Naruto, though I must admit your new appearance is much better on the eyes than it was with that jumpsuit you used to wear. What color was it again? Orange, said Kabuto, smirking, hoping to get Naruto angry and attack him instead. Considering how much people hated me, I was lucky to get anything at all. People would constantly overcharge me for stuff and I couldn't afford it. My home of an apartment no doubt would make one of your prison cells or experimentation rooms seem likable. You were never nearly starved or beaten to death, and at the hospitals they even tried to poison my food on at least 3 different occasions. You think by bringing your sound Anbu here that you have the advantage. No, it's the opposite, and if you think it's bad now, just wait until I send you and your squad members back to sound in one big bloody bag to your all-great child molesting pervert of a snake that is Orochi Tem, said Naruto, his mask's eyes glowing a dim red as he spoke. Big talk from just a small kid who failed the Genin exam 3 times and only passed on the whim of a Chunin, who took pity on you, said Kabuto, though in his mind his warning senses told him that this kid was much more trouble than he thought. And his senses were never wrong. Considering how many people tried to stop me at every turn, I'll take anything I can get in terms of advancement of victory. Kisame, Itachi, and you piece of monkey shit excuses for Konoha hunter ninjas, get out here now, said Naruto, getting shocked expressions and movements from all 3 groups. Not bad, kid, you sensed us even though we were hiding all our power, said Kisame, as he revealed his shark-like teeth in a smile. It wasn't hard. You're big, blue, and you look like a mutated dolphin. Plus with you around, Itachi is not far behind, said Naruto, getting a snarl from the shark man, while Itachi, despite the seriousness of the situation, smirked, knowing all the things Naruto just said were true. Mutated dolphin, huh? Maybe you'll think differently when I shave your legs off, said Kisame, drawing out Samahata ready to do some damage to Naruto. Remember, Kisame, Akatsuki wants Naruto alive. If you do manage to wound him, don't make it lethal or else Leader Sama will make us pay dearly, said Itachi while eyeing the hunter ninjas and the sound Anbu carefully. We can't let you take him back to Akatsuki, Itachi-san. We are under orders to kill the demon boy on sight. Stand aside or we will deal with you as well, said the hunter ninja captain, hoping that the group's overall strength would make the Uchiha think twice. Sorry to disappoint you fools, but Orochimaru-sama needs him for conducting further experiments on, and I can't risk failure in his capture, said Kabuto, who snapped his 2 of his fingers together, make his squad getting into fight stances. Itachi activated his Sharingan and the hunter ninjas from Konoha got ready for a fight with dead silence for the briefest of moments, only to be shattered by an insane laughter. An insane laugh coming from Naruto that turned everyone's attention back to him. Well, isn't this great? So many people want me alive or dead, yet none of you can agree on which one should get first dibs. So seeing how all of you are so eager to die, I will, in the spirit of cooperation, kill each and every one of you, said Naruto, his mask's eyes glowing red as if they were alive, and he readied himself in a lax sword stance, holding the weapon with just his right hand. Either this kid has finally lost it and has become suicidal, or he actually does have the power to defeat us, though personally I think it's the former, said Kisame, smirking at the kid's show of guts, no matter how figuratively well played it was acted out. However, when one deals with Kisame, such guts are shown more in a literal sense, with the former mist ninja showing people their guts by shoving Samahata in through the stomach. Careful, Kisame, I have watched this boy outrun Anbu when he was barely 6 years old, and underestimating him could spell doom even for you, said Itachi, noticing the shift in the air as storm clouds came overhead above them all. The growling animal noise coming from the demon didn't help either. Please. If Anbu from the leaf couldn't catch a mere 6-year-old child, then that place must have really been weakened during the fight with the Kyuubi, said Kisame, as he charged Naruto now, despite Itachi telling him to stop his charge that fell on deaf ears. And soon to be dead ones too. As Kisame swung his mighty and spiky-looking sword, the other 2 groups along with Itachi watched as Naruto leapt quickly over the wide swing, since ducking it would have ruined his hair. Surprising Kisame gave Naruto an opening and he slashed down on the shark-faced man, causing the member of Akatsuki to scream in pain. Still think I'm weak? You have less finesse than you have brains, said Naruto, smirking at the surprised Kisame, who looked at the boy with fear, not because he had struck him, even though that was a reason, but it was because he never saw Naruto move at such high speed before. Neither had Itachi or anyone else in the other 2 groups for that matter. He's gotten stronger. My Sharingan could see his movement, though it was difficult and it looked like he was projecting an after-image as he did. That's never happened before. Had I not heard the tiny bells on his head, I wouldn't have seen it happen, thought a now impressed Uchiha Itachi, wondering what could have increased Naruto's speed to such a level. How? Said Kisame in pain, feeling as if the wound slightly went diagonally down his right side of his back. Simple. You really suck at countering an attack while expecting your size, your large-ass sword, and the swinging of your said sword to destroy your enemies in one shot. Care to try again? Said Naruto, smiling his new set of teeth at Kisame, who turned green with envy at the sight of the teeth before turning back to blue again. This is an unexpected first even for me. Not many people other than Orochimaru and a select few other can go up against one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, much less Kisame of all people, thought Kabuto, seeing this new more dangerous Uzumaki Naruto seemingly mock and toy with the man from Akatsuki as if he were a plaything. Damn you brat, when I get a hold of you there won't be enough of you left to stuff into a matchbox, said Kisame, swinging his sword at Naruto in more complex forms related to the art of swordplay. Naruto dodged almost every single one. Almost. The last strike Kisame utilized involved a wide arc of a hit that, if connected, would in all likelihood destroy the upper half of his opponent. Itachi, however, was not thoroughly convinced that Kisame would win when the blow made contact with its target. When the blow did connect with Naruto, the boy Itachi and Kabuto noticed had plenty of time to dodge, yet just stood there to take the head-on attack. The only thing the boy did to show he was trying to defend himself was raising his left arm to absorb most if not all of the blow the massive Zanbato would inflict on him. There was a loud crunch sound when the sword hit its target, and both had moved with the impact, if only just a few inches. Kisame smiled at the sound his sword made, thinking he got the brat good with his trusty Samahata, even though the shark man couldn't tell if the boy's face behind the mask was filled with pain. Though the Akatsuki member imagined it was, if only slightly. Is that it? Said Naruto, his voice revealing no pain in his words, but of someone who was clearly unimpressed by the attack. What the hell? Said Kisame, finding himself afraid of someone other than Leader Sama and Itachi when he was pissed off. If this is all you got, Kisame, then your reputation among the 7 swordsmen of the mist has been clearly exaggerated, said Naruto, pushing the sword's blade away from him with the arm it came in contact with before slowly digging his grip into the sword with his left hand and releasing a huge amount of killing intent that froze everyone in their place no matter how much they wanted to move at the moment. How is he doing that? Thought everyone around Naruto, as they were now clearly scared of this demon vessel and his newfound strength that seemingly gave him S-class ranked strength. I don't like a sword that eats my chakra and pigs out on it shortly after getting a taste of what it considers a good meal. Your sword is like big dumb dog, or in this case shark, that can't stop eating until the food is taken away, and frankly it sickened me. Do you even know the inner workings of your sword, Kisame? Zangetsu does, and he knows for a fact a surefire way to destroy it, said Naruto, pouring more chakra into the sword, but at the same time twisting it and turning it to his very whim. What or why you doing? Said Kisame, trying to pry his Samahata from Naruto, only he found that Naruto's grip was absolutely stronger than his. Did you know the main reason your sword can eat so much chakra is because it has its own small network of tunnels to take that chakra and circulate it around? Samahata does this to let it thin out and dissolve into the sword itself. However, just because this sword absorbs, or as you once put it, Kisame, eats chakra, it does not mean the chakra cannot be manipulated by the very source it came from, said Naruto, smiling at Kisame, as he felt his chakra, that was being eaten by Samahata, swirling around inside the sword into little compressed balls of power. What do you mean? Said Itachi, finding this information may have its usefulness later should he be able to report back to Leader Sama. And that was if Leader Sama didn't kill him and Kisame, should he even survive this, for their failure in capturing Naruto when they had the chance. What that means, Uchiha Tem, is that even as we speak I'm manipulating my chakra into tiny little Rasengan balls inside Samahata, and when I choose to I will let them explode all at once, said Naruto, giving Kisame a psychotic grin that turned the blue-skinned man pasty white that nearly made him look human. That would annihilate everyone here, and due to the Kyuubi's demonic healing powers, Naruto can survive such an attack without batting an eyelash, thought Itachi, taking small steps back that didn't go unnoticed by everyone around him. Smart as ever, I see, Itachi. Tell you what, since you are the smart one of all 3 groups, I'm going to let you live and head back to the leader of your organization. Tell him that within the 3 years that you would plan on hunting me, I'm going to be using to hunt the rest of you, Orochimaru, and any other poor son of bitch from any other hidden village or elemental country that decides they want to come after me in order to get a piece of Uzumaki. Naruto, Kenpachi, said Naruto demonically at the end, though he did not know why he added the name of his sword to his, but he would have to worry about that later as his left hand started glowing blue, red, and yellow at the same time. Meanwhile, Samahata started making noises as if it were a large girder being strained by some unforeseen pressure attacking it. Stop it, said Kisame pleadingly, not wanting to die yet as he had so many things to do and people to kill. Not to mention he still had to see the new Jaws 5 inches movie that came out 2 weeks ago, where the plot from what he understood of it was his brethren actually winning against the human race. Stop, you say? Why? Only a weakling begs for mercy, only weaklings ask to be spared death, and only weakling like you die. Mini Rasengan bombs jutsu, said Naruto, releasing an insane laugh along with his attack on the poor shark man that was the once infamous Kisame, who in all his fright had simply forgotten to let go of the sword to escape the explosion that soon followed of Samahata. Kabuto, having finally gotten a chance to move, ran as fast as he could seconds before the explosion hit, though as slow as he was, a mid-chunin ranked ninja could possibly see him. I must survive this to inform Orochimaru-sama of this new development, thought Kabuto, as the explosion happened, sending chakra-covered pieces of Samahata as well as thick waves of chakra everywhere, hitting all parties around Naruto. The sound Anbu that were behind Kabuto didn't move fast enough were completely annihilated, with their bodies turning into bloody smears on the ground and nearby trees. Kabuto himself survived thanks to his own ways of healing and retreated back to Sound Village. Itachi moved at a slightly reduced speed due to the killer intent he felt, along with some form of pressure coming from Naruto's chakra. At the speed he was moving, the second to last Uchiha was hit with pieces of the destroyed sword hitting him in his right arm and his left side, barely missing 1 or 2 vital organs. I need to escape and report back to Leader Sama and hope what information I have learned of Naruto will be of use to him, thought Itachi before teleporting out of the area to avoid making a blood trail that would make the boy follow. The Konoha hunter ninjas were torn and sliced apart, killing all except, amazingly as it was, though it would depend on your point of view, a single ninja. His right arm was lost forever, his face burned unrecognizably from the impact, and his guts were hanging out of his waistline, showing anyone that saw it, provided they didn't puke first, how the human body can digest food. The ninja flat out wished he was dead, and in a few minutes afterwards that followed, his wish was granted. As for Kisame, like his sword Samahata, he was not complete, and had been, for the lack of a better word, obliterated. The blast itself had only hit Kisame marginally at best, since he was the closer to Naruto than the others. However, even such an attack had left only a majority of him being a mangled blood smear, leaving a slightly cut up head as proof the shark man was no more. Naruto put away his sword and walked over to Kisame's head, picking it up and studying it for a moment with disgust. And here I thought, with all you guys around me, I would have to call out the true form of my sword after I called his name. At least I now have a reason to enter Mist, though, said Naruto, smiling at the head, knowing that this would not only get him into the Mist Village, but allow him to make a name for himself, and possibly get him potential jobs in the future. Don't get overconfident, kid, you are still a growing boy. Next time the dangers will be greater, as your enemies will come out more in force when word gets out about what you did here, said Zangetsu, appearing next to Naruto, and put a demonic preserve seal on Kisame's skull to avoid any further decay. Still, this will be interesting nonetheless. Kabuto will report to Orochimaru in Sound, Itachi will report back to the Akatsuki, and as for Konoha, well, let's just say that Tsunade Ba-chan is about to give the council a very interesting package, said Naruto, turning to the remains of the hunter ninjas in all their bloody glory. That's my boy, thought Zangetsu, with the spirit of Kenpachi, smiling at his owner's way of thinking and inspiring fear into his enemies. More blood for us to spill, thought Kenpachi, licking his lips inside Naruto's mindscape, imagining all of the fights they as a whole would get into. Demon summoning art. Demon fox summoning jutsu, said Naruto, biting his thumb and smearing it on the fox head on his sheath, making it glow as he did one-handed seals before planting his free hand, open palmed, down on the ground. When the smoke cleared from the jutsu, a three-tailed black fox, the size a large dog, had appeared, ready to follow the orders of the one who summoned him. What is you wish of me, my master? Said the summons, bowing its head in respect. I need you. My fox summons to transport something to Konoha for me that is of great importance that needs to reach its destination, said Naruto, getting a nod from the fox while Zangetsu went to the remains of the Konoha hunter ninjas and created a large box to stuff them all in. What is it that needs transport? Said the black fox, though it had a good idea what it was since the boss summons of his species was stuffing the box with bloody remains from corpses. 3 things actually, with each something going in a separate destination. The first of such items is this headband that needs to reach my old sensei Yumino Iruka, said Naruto, taking out his leaf headband and with a clawed finger, put a line horizontally across the leaf symbol before tying it loosely around its neck. What of the other 2? Said the black fox, as Naruto pulled out an envelope and put a letter inside that smelled to the fox like ramen. This letter needs to be given to someone that is precious to me and that I cherish above all others in my life. This letter must only go to Hyuga Hinata of the Hyuga clan and must never be seen by any other person in Konoha, or else bad things might happen to her that I would never want to happen, said Naruto, getting extremely serious when he was looking at the fox, who knew that this one was the major priority of this assignment before taking the letter into its mouth, carefully making sure not to damage it. This will be your 3rd package, though I would suggest delivering this last so you don't have the people in Konoha after you right away, said Zangetsu, bringing the box over to the 2 with blood staining the top and side of the large wooden container before placing it on the fox's back while the said fox held it with its 3 tails. It had a sign on it. To the people of Konoha. Better luck next time, assholes. From Uzumaki Naruto. However, what would get everyone's attention was that below the message was a picture of a smiling Naruto face, giving whoever looked at it 2 middle fingers. Truly an insult to injury. The black demon fox nodded to Zangetsu and Naruto before disappearing in a puff of smoke, setting out to do its required task. Now that is taken care of, let's head to Mist and collect the bounty on Fish Head here, said Naruto, who put the head in a bag Zangetsu made appear in front out of his charka flowing cloak. Don't forget you still have to say goodbye to Tazuna and the others before you go, said Zangetsu, not wanting the boy to forget his promise to the family. Right, my bad, said Naruto, grinning sheepishly at the demon fox before heading back to Tazuna's house to say farewell to his family. Wave Country docks. 30 minutes later. Naruto had said a heartfelt goodbye to the Tazuna and had promised once more to visit when he had a chance and when he wasn't on the run so much. Inari was crying, of course, at the loss of seeing the country's hero leaving again and nearly had to be pried away from Naruto after giving him a vice-gripped hug by Tsunami. Tsunami herself wished Naruto off for a safe journey to Mist and to be careful, as she had heard from someone that mists in the country of water were facing severely troubled times. Tazuna gave the boy a pat on the shoulder and secretly gave Naruto a bottle of his more expensive stuff he hid from his daughter, telling Naruto he'd never know when he would need a stress-removing drink. Clearly a voice of experience. Naruto took it without question and bid the group farewell, telling them that they could now tell the rest of the people in town he was here since it would soon hit all the other places around them. Getting on the ship heading for Mist, he waved goodbye to Tazuna, Inari, and Tsunami until they could no longer be seen by him. Next time I see them again I'm going to be so much stronger, even I won't find it the least bit funny, Naruto to Zangetsu, who appeared next to him with his usual serious expression plaster on his face. True, but I sense you will go far, Naruto, in your dream to be the best, and when you do return to Konoha to be the next Hokage you will definitely surpass all the others before you, said Zangetsu, looking out into the water admiring the serene beauty it possessed before turning to Naruto and giving him an eye patch. What's this, Zangetsu-sama? Said Naruto, examining the eye patch, seeing it has several small eyes and mouths on it. It's something I found on in your coat pocket while you were out like a light after your confrontation with your sword spirit. From what I can determine it was designed to eat large quantities of chakra from the user as long as the person wears it. Did spirit the lives within your sword have one as well? Said Zangetsu, seeing the eye patch, yearning just to grab onto Naruto's right eye. Might as well wear it now. It will be some time before we get to the land of water, and since there is no threat to me on board the ship by the time we land I should feel properly adjusted to it, said Naruto, putting the eye patch on his right eye as the wrappings acted like tentacles and latched on tightly. It took a great deal of willpower to not scream when he felt like the eye patch was eating his like an Akamichi eats food at a buffet table. When we get to land of water and to Mist we'll use our current funding, plus what you get for Kisami's head to buy some heavy weights to further increase your strength in the long run. By the time you leave that country, not only will it be better because of you, but you yourself will be several times stronger than you are now, said Zangetsu, seeing his vessel wobble slightly, trying to get used to the drainage and the pain that was coming from his right eye. Don't worry kid, the pain will go away in a few days. In the meantime, I'm going to help you in terms of using chakra pressure, which involves generating your killer intent with your chakra, creating a heavy pressure environment. You did it back there with that group of weaklings, but it was on pure luck and instinct on my part that allowed you to trigger it, said Kenpachi, who in Naruto Mindscape was looking forward to being called out for a good old-fashioned sword fight. At the moment in Iowa, are you sure this information our agents received is correct? Said the Tsuchikage, as he looked over the information given to him by the Anbu in his presence. Yes sir. As you know, the Leaf Village has been severely weakened by what they did to the boy and his sensei betraying him. The pictures of him compared to the Yellow Flash is an undeniable proof the boy is his father, since no one else in Leaf has such identifiable characteristics, said the Anbu, who knew that this was an opportunity to strike at the spirit of their most hated enemy. Yes, the evidence is unmistakable. The fools don't even realize just who they betrayed, and at this point won't even care since they hate the demon sealed inside of him. We will act on this, but with a more delicate approach if what those two power surges we felt were any indication, said the Tsuchikage, rubbing his chin in thought. What do you have in mind, Tsuchikage-sama? Said the Anbu, wondering what plan his Earth Shadow had planned. Rather than killing the boy, why not send him an invitation to join us when we decide to invade Konoha at a much later date? It's clear that if those fools don't know about the child's heritage, then neither does the boy himself. Have our Anbu and spies throughout the other lands look for him, but when they confront him they are to offer him the chance to join our ranks, said the Tsuchikage, smiling a sinister smile at the shocked Anbu. Join us? But sir, he is the son of the Yellow Flash, said the Anbu in protest, as he had seen so many of his fellow comrades die during the war with Leaf. All the more reason to have him join our side. What Namikaze Minato did to us his son will do to them when we go back to war with Leaf, said the Tsuchikage, with his smile growing even more. Irony and karma were truly in this year. Meanwhile, Konoha Hospital. Uchiha Sasuke was a boy with many faults as well as potential talent if he understood some things about life and got his head out of his ass. The report on his injuries was not life-threatening, but all the same could not be overlooked. The total wounds were several broken ribs, a concussion, some amount of blood loss from cuts and scrapes, and his right hand had been covered in special restoration bandages as it had been nearly destroyed when he shot his Chidori into Naruto's Rasengan. Outside of his room were two Anbu ninjas standing guard to prevent anyone getting in or out of the Uchiha's room. Though their guarding could use work since they didn't expect anyone to attack their poor prodigy, who in their arrogant minds had been traumatized by the demon boy that put him in that condition. Now as Sasuke sat, unconscious in the hospital bed of his room, now covered with get well cards and flowers to show the people's support of him, the Uchiha began to stir. His heart monitor was beeping faster as his mind was struggling for him to awaken into the land of the living, with his arms and legs twitching slightly as he did. The images of the battle he had with Naruto played out in his head with the look Naruto had when he shoved his Rasengan into the Chidori. The face of the demonic-looking Naruto with a look of pure malice on his face sent chills down Sasuke's spine, and the desire that his best friend seemed to have in wanting him dead made his blood freeze cold. Why am I so weak that I can't shake this fear out of my mind? I have to get the power that Naruto has so I can kill Itachi. I need to be stronger than everyone around me so there is no one better and people will praise only me, not that dead last loser, for my accomplishments, thought Sasuke, as anger appeared on his barely unconscious face. The beeping from the Sasuke's heart monitor got the attention of the Anbu outside and went in to investigate, only to see a struggling Uchiha awaken from his slumber. Uchiha-san, said the Anbu with a cat mask on, surprised at the boy's strength. When I'm out of this hospital I'm going to train harder than ever, and when I possess more power than anyone else I'm going to kill you, Uzumaki Naruto. You hear me, Naruto? I'm going to kill you, yelled Sasuke, his anger with his curse seal glowing slightly along his neck as his Sharingan eyes activated, revealing all three komas in each eyeball. The two Anbu guards, despite being slightly scared at such a sight, couldn't help but smile at the idea of the Uchiha slaying the demon fox. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.